Welcome back. In our weekly briefing, we're taking a closer look at politics and profit in the cannabis business. On Tuesday, the Senate will take the last crucial step before it's expected to vote in favor of legalizing weed. In just 5 years, the weed industry has moved from back alleys to some swanky black tie galas.
Thank you, everyone. I've never been more proud to sell weed in my life.
That was the Canadian Cannabis Awards a couple of months ago, a sign that this projected $22 billion industry is more than ready for legalization this summer, which begs the question, who gets to profit from it? Well, our research shows that nearly 40 former politicos and police officers are cashing in. Most notable among them, former Conservative MP and Toronto Police Chief Julian Fantino. He used to put people in jail for weed crimes. In 2004, a radio host asked him about legalization.
We can legalize murder too, and then we won't have a murder case, and you know, like, we can't go that way.
So weed is like murder. Wow, this is Fantino recently opening his new medicinal marijuana company. And as soon as it's legal, his product automatically becomes good for recreational sale too. Fantino's partnered up with former Conservative Science Minister Gary Goodyear and Raf Sukar. He's former Deputy Commissioner of the RCMP. Lots of Liberals are in the game too, former cabinet ministers, MPs, and party officials. For example, the wife and son of former Federal Justice Minister Alan Rock just sold their pot business for a cool $27 million to Chuck Rafici, former chief fundraiser for Trudeau's Liberals, and now owner of one of Canada's biggest weed conglomerates. Whether they got their hands on one of Health Canada's coveted production licenses for weed or they're tied to a company that did, these insiders have a major head start. In fact, big deals are already being cut.
Canopy Growth shares less than $1 away from the all-time high after striking a deal to supply marijuana to Newfoundland and Labrador, going into recreational legalization by July.
So with all that weed set to hit the shelves, lots of rich and happy people, but not weed activists like Jodie Emery. She and her partner, Mark, a.k.a. the Prince of Pot, have been campaigning for legalization for decades, but are now shut out. She joins me from Vancouver. Jodie, you campaigned with Justin Trudeau when he was arguing for legalizing marijuana. Were there any promises or understandings at that point that you would end up with like a voice at the table?
I wasn't promised anything, but I felt like the go-to marijuana person in the party because no one else was really carrying the issue, even though it was a top election campaign promise that they had made.
Do you think that you actually influenced the movement towards legalization?
I think there's no doubt that my husband, Mark Emery, and myself have been major influencers in this movement to legalize marijuana. We helped Trudeau get elected, we helped raise the profile of the Liberal Party on the legalization issue, and we've been on the front lines from way back in the day when it was a very difficult uphill battle with a lot of suffering and hardship along the way.
You've published a list of politicians, former politicians and police who are involved in these businesses. Are you suggesting that they're in tight with the government and that's why they're there? What's the purpose?
Well, the chief financial officer of the Liberal Party left the Liberals when they won, started Tweed, which turned into Canopy Growth, which we all know is the biggest behemoth Goliath company of cannabis. Bill Blair's deputy chief, Kim Derry, working for a marijuana company, invited Bill Blair, and then the rules started getting drafted from there. So there are certainly people with influence and connections on the inside now who are getting an advance entry to the market.
But what's wrong with that? I mean, don't you need good security, good safety around a potentially harmful product?
Marijuana prohibition has unfairly and disproportionately targeted minorities and people of color and marginalized groups. So legalization was supposed to allow an opportunity for these groups to have a job and create a business and be entrepreneurs. But instead, they're being elbowed out by those who have connections and power in politics.
But you and your husband, you broke the law, so why should you be allowed access to a regulated business now?
These legal medical marijuana companies that these police and politicians are joining only exist because of lawbreakers, getting arrested, going to court, having the court order the government to provide access. For many activists like myself, we have been victims, and for many of the Canadians who have criminal records, we sit back with our hands locked up while the police who arrested us get to cash in. Something doesn't sit well when they get to enjoy the fruits of our labor and we don't even get a little bite.
Jodie Emery, thanks so much for this.
Thank you.